Hello, it's the Friday Talkie. I'm going to do a tag response to MarkVergeer's, what was it called? Emulators, the good, the bad and the ugly. I think I saw it called that somewhere. Yeah, basically opinions on emulators and what do we think of them. Good, bad, whatever. My view of emulators is not simple, though probably not hard to understand, but it's not completely black and white. I used to use emulators a hell of a lot. Before I met Andrea, when I lived in a flat in Milton Keynes, I didn't have a lot of space. I had quite a few old consoles and computers, but I just didn't have the room for them, and most of them were up in the loft. And I wanted to play games on old systems, so emulators was the way to go for me then. And I probably had an emulator for pretty much every system going, and it was a lot of fun, but it never really satisfied me. I knew I wasn't getting the real experience. Controllers didn't feel right, keyboard... probably the biggest problem I had was that keyboard layouts weren't the same, and so that there would be control systems using a keyboard that on the original hardware made perfect sense, but on a PC keyboard it just didn't work at all. Don't ask me for an example of which system I mean, because I can't remember, but I know that it did come up. Anyway, so these days I've got lots of the original hardware, and largely I don't have a great need for emulators on the computers and consoles, though saying that, I do still find them very useful for if I'm thinking about buying a game. If I've seen one and I think, that looks interesting, but what's it like, I will try it out on an emulator. It doesn't actually come up very often. Normally these days, in fact, I look for a video on YouTube to see if it looks any good, but sometimes I will fire up an emulator. Mostly though, I'm just using MAME. I think MAME is the most... You've got an excuse for using it, really. I mean, not that you really need an excuse, but no one can say, oh well, you should just download it from blah blah, the company is still selling it. We're talking arcade cabinets, you know. These things generally aren't... Well, let me think of an example. You can't find Atari Star Wars for download anywhere. You're not doing them out of money. You can't find iRobot anywhere. You're not doing them out of money. I think MAME is a very... I don't think anyone can come up with a good reason why anyone shouldn't use that. I mean, yeah, someone's going to say copyright, blah blah blah, piracy, blah blah, and on a purely legal standpoint that is true, but who are you doing out of money? You can't go to the arcade and put money in the slot. That arcade doesn't exist anymore, and even if it did, the game isn't going to be there. Tell me an arcade where they've got iRobot. And I would say I'll go there and play it, but I won't, because it'll be in some other country. But you know what I mean. You're not doing anyone out of any money. Any copyright argument, I think, is just bullshit. That's just purely, that's as you can't use it, and I think that's pretty despicable. So yeah, sod all that. MAME, absolutely fair game. And most of the old computers as well. You can't play these games any other way a lot of the time. And here's the funny thing. I mean, there is the argument that you're doing companies out of revenue if you download the ROMs. Well, okay, I've got a Neo Geo AES. I've got the real thing. But for me to play games on that, I've got to go on eBay and buy the cartridge. And SNK, Playmore, whoever, are not going to make a single penny out of me buying a cartridge for that console. They would have me download it and play it on the Wii. Well, I don't want to play it on the Wii. I can't stand the Wii. I don't like it. It isn't going to give me the real experience because the controller isn't right. So, no, I'm doing no more harm downloading a ROM for that than I am going on eBay and buying a cartridge to get the genuine experience. They would rather I have a watered down experience by playing it on some downloaded thing for the Wii? Hell no. So I mean, I think there are absolutely legitimate reasons for using emulators. As a collector, I don't. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a guy on a market stall. Can't remember where it was, and it got old games. And I was saying, oh, I collect all the old systems, and you know, I'm forever looking for the games for them and whatnot. And he said, oh yeah, I did that for a bit, but now I collect emulators and ROMs, and I've got about 10,000 ROMs, and isn't that cool? And I was thinking, well, that's nice. You can play all of those games. That's good. Are you going to play your 10,000 games? Absolutely nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't impress me, because anyone can do that. And it's like, here's a website, download everything on it. You've got a fantastic collection. But there is no... I don't look at that and think that's impressive. I just think, yeah, you've got a lot of data on your hard drive, but so what? There's no... A lot of collecting hardware, and I mean, I don't really consider myself a software collector anyway. Most of the games I've got came with the machines I've got. But there is the thrill of the chase. I mean, that's normally applied to relationships and whatnot, but there is when you're looking for a machine or a game and it's something that's maybe a little bit hard to find, and you're like, am I going to get into a bidding war on this, and is it going to be a good quality example, and all kinds of stuff like that. There is a certain amount of kudos that goes with having a good example of a system or a game. You've got the real thing, and you just don't get that with emulators. You just go to the website and download it, and hey presto. So 10,000 ROMs to me is like, nice, so what? Yeah, that's the thing. With emulators, to me, they are great for playing the game. If all you're interested in is the game, they're fantastic. For a retro gamer, and I'm not just a collector, I'm a retro gamer. I don't know whether I'm more of a collector or more of a gamer, but either way, if you are just a gamer, emulators perfect, because what you get is the game, and that's really all you get, and it's all about the gameplay. If you're a collector, they're worthless, in my opinion. There is no value other than experiencing the game, decide whether it's worth buying, perhaps. Which is not to knock them, but it's just like that there are... I separate the collecting and the gaming. To me, they are two separate things. So as a gamer, emulators, fantastic. As a collector, emulators, almost worthless. That'll probably upset one or two people. It's maybe a controversial view, but nah, there it is. Yes. But I would absolutely defend anyone who wanted to collect stuff for... collect, there I am using that word. Anyone who uses emulators, and that is their form of retro gaming, absolutely great, would not knock it at all. You know, there are lots of channels on here where there are gameplay videos and it's using an emulator. Fine, I think that's perfectly legitimate. It's gaming. And in the end, if what you want to do is play games, it doesn't matter what you're using. It is this difference between gaming and collecting. They're not strictly the same thing. Yes. What else? I probably had other things to talk about, but I can't think of any now. I'm going to go to a shout out, and then I have got a couple of other things to talk about after that. Here we go. Okay then, this week's shout out. The EEPROM 9. Simon. It's a fairly new channel. Well, how many videos has he got? I'm not sure actually. He's not got a lot of videos yet. He's not been doing the gaming videos for very long at all. In fact, about a month. And it's very interesting. I like... God, I use that word so often. Interesting. I'll tell you what it is I like about his channel. His character, his style of narration. of commentary. He's quirky. I think that is the best way I can describe it. He's got a very characteristic way of commentating that I find entertaining and amusing, and it makes me smile. He's enthusiastic about what he does and expresses it in a way that is all his own. Videos, he's got a couple of, there's some Half-Life ones here. I don't know what that is. Driving Nixies, don't know. There's some well, this is a modern remake of Centipede, more Half-Life. Introduction to his channel here, and he's definitely he's got some very definitely geeky interests, I think. There's some hardware stuff he's got going on here which I don't actually have a clue what it is. I look at it and think, wires and lights and things. I don't know what that is, but it looks nice. It is a cool channel. It's got a lot of character. I think he's getting into his stride gradually. He's not been doing it for very long. He's got 6 subscribers. Absolutely deserves more than that. I mean, who am I to say who deserves what? But I think it's enjoyable to watch what he does, and I'm pretty sure more than 6 people would enjoy watching what he does. I certainly do. So yeah, he's getting my shout out this week. That is the EPROM9. Go along and have a look, see what you think. I enjoy it. I'm trying to work out if my lens, no, that's not right, is it? I'm probably zoomed into here or something. Never mind. Yeah, so coming up, as you're probably, some of you are aware, I've been doing Archimedes videos, and I've certainly got a few more coming up. I'm waiting for a piece of hardware to arrive which I hope will enable me to do a whole load more. Yeah, without going into too much detail. I may or may not have amassed more Archimedes games in the near future. We'll see. I've still got a couple of Commodore 64 games to do on that cartridge, that C64GS cartridge. I've also going to cram in somewhere. I've got a race driving on the original Game Boy, and this is actually, I've got to give a mention to mathowlett, who, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who he did a video of it on Game Boy, and I just looked at it and thought, yeah, I'd seen videos of it before, but I watched it some more and I thought, that looks great. I've got to get that. So nice one, Matt. You influenced my purchasing habits and tendencies, and whatever, it is your fault. I bought it. Also, now I don't know what their position is on things being announced beforehand, so I'm not announcing anything here, but I'm going to be on holiday next week. I'm going to be in Scarborough on on Wednesday, in fact. Now, some of you may be aware that Wednesday is particularly relevant to a certain podcast, a certain popular gaming podcast. That particular one on that particular Wednesday may be of particular interest to people on this channel. I'm not announcing anything whatsoever here. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I will actually put up a video, or try, while I'm on holiday, but I'm going to be using a wireless dongle, so it's going to be like really short video, probably I don't know, a matter of seconds, because bandwidth is going to be so limited. But I will put up a video then telling you quite what it is I'm talking about right now. Some of you will figure it out anyway. Yeah, but next Wednesday is cool day. Alright, I'll shut up. I am really rambling and not making an awful lot of sense. I'm just a little bit excited. Okay, thank you for watching.